This very day, welcome to another Smoke and Mirrors. This episode is brought to you by the blood in the streets, also brought to you by the fire this time. And now, here's a little song.
Sorry, I couldn't find Israel in your music.
Shut up! Siri coming in here like an asshole, ruining my whole little thing. I was going to do a little song. Be quiet. And now, here's a little song. You got your daughter, got your son. He went out, got himself a gun. But don't worry, doop a doop boop, boop a be happy, doo doo boop a doo doop a doop boop. You went out to protest him. He opened up your chest and chin. But don't worry, doop a doop boom, boop a be happy, doo doo boop doop. Don't worry now. Ooh, don't worry. Woo, I'll be happy. Woo. And now here they are, your host, Carlos Karim Wyndham. Oh, here I am. I see you, Raven. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Well, we're still here. I mean, most of us, those of us who are still here. If you're still here, I hope you're still here. I mean, alive, breathing. You don't have to be here. I don't give a shit if you're here. But here on the planet, hope you're here. Unless you're a racist or a Nazi, in which case, fuck you. I don't care if you're here or you're not here. It's not my concern. Your being here brings me no joy, brings no one else any joy. It clearly doesn't bring yourself any joy. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be like that. Woo! Some lady got on my page. Trying to be instructive to me about gallows humor in these times, where the young boy had decided that shooting protesters last night was the appropriate move, and I learned about it this morning. And when posting the story about it, I said simply, "Cool." She white lady decided challenging me about cool. Cool was the appropriate move. It wasn't. This is not the day. I don't think that day is coming tomorrow either, to be honest with you, or ever. But do join me here tomorrow, because I'm going to be back here again. And when I am, it's going to be set aside. Podcaster, womanist race nerd, cultural critic, cultural warrior, Janicia Francis, co-host of Tea with Queen and Jay podcast. And I hope you will join us for that conversation. It ought to be good. I don't know if you saw Janicia on the Grapevine on YouTube's recently, but you should have. And if you've not, look at it after you've looked at this or in preparation for that. And then on Monday, guess what? I'm going to be here with priest Ibu Toke, who is a priest of Ochun. Has been a priest for 16 going on 17 years. And we are going to talk about Black representation and the folks who call themselves or are referred to by white folks as people of color in the traditions, as well as white people themselves, and what it means to work in deference to the African spirit. Also, I'm going to be here the very next day, Tuesday, with DJ Carmen Spindiego. I had to concentrate not to say Carmen. DJ Carmen Spindiego. And we are going to be talking about art and making a cohesive life for ourselves as artists, organizers. And we are going to be talking about why, if all you have to say is poo poo caca, it's probably a good time for you to go ahead and keep Kamala Harris's name out of your fucking mouth. Hi! Yes, yes. If you think I was just talking to you, I was, especially if you are a male presenting person and or not black and or just decide you have a reason to talk that shit. It's interesting. One of the young folks that folks have been using as a tool to sort of try to separate Kamala Harris's actual life and work from the perception that is being fed to us by YouTube robots and Russians about her work, and is known by folks who are in and of California and paying attention, is that the young person who was a reality television star who she had prosecuted, who was released, who said at the time, Kamala was putting a thumb on the scale of justice there. I didn't appreciate that. Has since come out and said very clearly, hey, guess what? We're cool. Get out and support her. Get this Nazi out of office. There's a whole vidya on it. There's a whole vidya on it of him sitting there saying these things. If you're interested to look up such a thing for yourself, and maybe knowing how even those who fell victim to Kamala Harris doing the work that was required of her as a prosecutor, not a job that I find to be a benevolent or a good one, not the one I would ever want, but why it was important for them to come out and say, hey, you know what, we're supporting her too, because they understand, as I understand, that we're going to have a much easier time negotiating for our rights with folks with whom we have vicious disagreements around respectability politics than we would ever have trying to debate a Nazi who does not believe we are humans. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it is a place of immeasurable privilege to get into a position of saying that that's why you're not going to vote. It is even also, though, too, I'm going to say a place of privilege to be upset when you hear a young talking about why they're not going to vote and why they're not down for the two-party system. And it may be worth listening to what they have to say. We may be familiar with a lot of us, those of us who've been on the left for a very long time, but maybe they have a new argument. And even if they don't, guess what they do have? A vote that can count if you're willing to be a friendly ear and maybe a bit of a mentor instead of an asshole. That could be a thing we could be aiming toward. I don't have jokes today, nor do I seem to have much of a program. And it's because the world is burning. That's not the only reason. No, it's because if you were here yesterday, you know that we had a very, very highly produced program. And what you don't know is that after the program was over, then I was super tired. And what we don't talk about is the amount of time it takes to produce a program like the one yesterday. Don't need to. I'm not here to say, oh, this is hard work. Ooh. I like it. I like it quite a bit. I hope you like it too. I think some of you might, based on the numbers that we're seeing of people watching and comments and all the good stuff. And we appreciate it. I appreciate it deeply. Also, it does mean that, as I have insinuated in the past, that my job is many jobs as ever. And one of my artist jobs is now making this, which means I'm doing the job. I'm doing the job. I'm doing the work. And the work is laborious at times. At other times, it can't be. And today, as I said earlier, I thought this was going to be a little freestyle edition, like I was, wanted to jump out of a plane and put on your parachute and have some good sillies, because I'm out of shit to talk about. I'm tired. I don't know. And I don't know what could possibly happen that would give me a thing to talk about at all. And then as I was on my cool down, I started looking at what Black Twitter were talking about. And what Black Twitter were talking about, and also liberal Twitter. I'm going to say, and also liberal Twitter, because I'm deep in leftist Twitter. I'm not fucking with your Republican National Convention because I know who they are. I know who they are. They know who they are. You know who they are. They've told on themselves. There are no more surprises to be had in terms of any platform that may be put forward, including that none will be, right? The GOP platform, as we talked about before, as you can look at in the news, is we love Trump. Fuck you, nigger. That's the whole platform. It was, we hate Mexicans, Trump can save us. But we have evolved. Evidently, you've been saved, the whites, because all the little Mexican babies are now in cages. So you don't have to worry anymore that they're going to grow up to be Zapatistas, because they couldn't, because they're in cages. But that this new policy, while horrifying at the face of it, and the first night looked very Nazi-ish, what started alerting me to the thing that I may have something to talk about today, even if I couldn't produce it for you, is that sounded very. Do you remember Carol Channing? Y'all remember Carol Channing? Are you the age of Free to Be You and Me? Because I just heard a bit of Carol Channing happening there. If you don't remember, she was the one who did the skit about chores. Your mommy hates chores, and daddy hates chores, and I hate chores too. And one day when you grow up, so will you. I heard a little Carol Channing in my voice just now, and so wanted to address it and not pretend that it didn't just happen. That said, when we are talking with the youngs and hearing about why they don't want to vote and all the things, we can understand it. There's all kinds of reasons. Theirs is not coming from the place of privilege of, a white, an elder, some other saying something about how they don't want to vote because they don't believe in the system and the electoral college and doodle-a-doodle-a-doo. That's a good position to take if you are between the ages of 15 and, say, 25, 6, 7. I'll even give you 28. Right around that point, though, what we need to understand is that what we're dealing with is a circumstance where we beg for favors, so we have to vote. We have to. Not because I believe in the system. I do not. Not because this is the right system. It is not. It is not vote or be involved in rebellion. It is not vote or burn down the police station. Vote and burn down the police station, because after the police stations are burned down, we're still going to have to govern ourselves and one another, and we're going to have discussions to come to consensus and maybe even votes about whether or not to burn down the schooling building as well. It's going to take, we're going to have to still have some of these skills, even though we don't want them, even though they're not being applied evenly. When we do exercise them, the outcomes are skewed. We know. Not the point, though, because if we don't absolutely tumble this asshole, we're going to be in some serious dudes. And I'm not a vote shamer. I'm not here to say it's your fault if that is what ends up happening and you were one of the vote resistors, or worse, one of the people saying that we should not vote and therefore being a vote suppressor. I'm not even here to say that that's a bad thing. In any other circumstance, I think that is the appropriate conversation to be had. And in fact, one in which you and I would have been on the same side. This is not normal. We've been saying that together on the left since he got into office. This is not normal. And because we know this is not normal, the times and the responses cannot be normal either. And last night when I was watching the Twitterverse, I was hearing more about the abnormalities that we are seeing. And, it's the brazenness of the abnormalities. It's not even that the big laws were broken, right? Big laws were already broken. Like, let's be clear. Whenever we're talking about 45, the bag of hate and jizz that has somehow been reanimated and brought to life, we are saying that we are talking about somebody who we know cannot. It's not that he can't tell a truth. It's not that he cannot tell a lie. It's that he can't tell the difference. And he thinks that whatever comes out of his mouth is the thing. And it ain't. It ain't the thing. And that the thing that is going to come out of his mouth is whatever's going to benefit him and whoever's going to talk about him the nicest, including QAnon or Nazis or whoever else. There was a time when he was donating to Democrats, including he donated quite a lot of money to Kamala Harris's campaign at a point. Not for president, but certainly put monies in her coffers at a different point. He was a Democrat himself at a different point because he does not have a position or spine or anything. He's trying to figure out how to use people to get what he needs. And so he was thinking he could use she. He could not. He could not. He could not. And so now they are doing things like saying the name incorrectly and saying it wrongly, to which if you're confused and you hear any of your circle or your racist Uncle Bob saying Kamala, one, they're doing it on purpose. It's a troll. Two, you can make them look and feel extra stupid by pointing out that really you're not, it's not, you know these words. You know how to say the word comma. You put a comma in a sentence. You know how to say la. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. La. Comma, la. This is not difficult. Don't act like you're that dumb. If you say that to this person, they're going to start doing the right thing, because that's what always happens when you present racists with evidence. So I was seeing what they were talking about in terms of the laws were getting broken. And I said, no way. They did not just break 4 laws right out of the Hatch Act, right at the Republican National Conventions. Now, for those of you who do not know, I do know what the Hatch Act is. I know it very, very intimately, because the one of 2 times I've ever been fired from an actual gig, it was because of accusations 4 years ago, ironically, that I was breaking the Hatch Act. In any sort of an engagement that I have professionally, I have always talked brazenly and shittily about whatever president has been in office, and that includes President Obama. By the end of his term, we were not friends. Now, do I miss him deeply now just because I miss hearing things that sounds like sentences coming out of the mouth of the person with their finger on the button that could kill us all? Yeah, I do. And I miss a president who was at least a little bit charming and could sing. Well, I'm so in love with you. You remember. And I miss it, but I know what the Hatch Act is because I ended up in a circumstantials. And the circumstantials was one of being accused of violating it, because I was talking about historical moments that had already passed, including the outcome of the vote in terms of what we knew to be an historical fact, who voted for whom. White women decisively, along with white men who we were not looking to depend on at all, put your boy into office. That's it. Black women did what black women do and voted against Nazis and in the best interest of black people, as Kamala Harris might. And even though she was a prosecutor, Claire Huxtable was also a prosecutor. Claire Huxtable is the character. Claire Huxtable is not the woman who was trying to cover for the rapist, who is Bill Cosby, but the attorney who was such a good cross-examiner on and partnering to Clifford Huxtable, and a wonderful maternal figure who you did not want to fucking cross. And we have the chance to have our own running the whole country. And if you know nothing else, and I know you do know, because if you are my age at all, or anywhere near it, or within a decade of it in either direction, I know you goddamn know what it is to have that energy of my baby, my baby, on one hand, followed very quickly by, now let me tell you something about yourself. And we have a chance. We can have that. We can have that again, which is what white people are afraid of and reacting to when they say Kamala. So again, comma and do re mi fa sol la. That was off key. Ti do la Kamala, Kamala, and that wasn't the most racist or alarming thing that happened. What happened was that when El Jefe was brought forward by baby Tom Cruise, we talked about baby Tom Cruise before when he was attacking Portland, a thing that he is no longer doing. We're now under attack only from our own Nazi leader, Ted Wheeler. Fuck you, Ted. Fuck you. Fuck you and anybody who supports you. That's the mayor. That when they brought El Jefe out, he was brought out by two guards in uniform. No, we don't do that in this country. That's not a ever thing that has happened. That if you go back in your history annals, annals. If you go back in your history annals, what you're going to find is that that's not a move or a stunt that anybody had ever pulled in the United States before, because you're supposed to be campaigning on separate grounds. That's the violation of the Hatch Act. You don't mix the using of tax dollars to campaign for or against a particular political candidate for office, in particular for presidente. That is the violation of the Hatch Act. Saying this many women just voted for that president, that's not a violation of a Hatch Act. Now, that may be a sensitive subject and a gross blister that white people at different agencies, city and federal, do not want to start squeezing at and poking at. But it's not a violation of the Hatch Act. That's a violation of the rules of whiteness. And violating those rules is what I do. So he brought out his dead soldiers. And then his 10 soldiers brought him out with baby Tom Cruise. And then they naturalized 5 citizens to let you know that, all that talk about how much we hate immigrants. We love some. We love them. We love them, the immigrants. And you just misunderstood. In fact, we love them so much that we're making 5 of them citizens of the United States as part of the Republican National Convention, which again is the impeached President Trump convention. And we're just going to do a little government work in the middle of our convention. Well, that's illegal. That is a violation of the Hatch Act. So that's 2. Also weird that Trump was there at all and certainly brought out. You may have noticed that it is usually accepting the nomination of the party at the end of the festivities that happens, not using it as though it is a party for you because you're a fascist, Nazi, authoritarian, dictator, oligarch, asshole, bag of jizz. But okay, you do what you do. We've gotten used to a bar, and it's not a high one. It's not a high one. Then Melania Trump got out there to talk for the first time. We've heard her speak in a very long time because Melania was busy hiding Barron in New York and doing everything within her power to not touch, see, or be sniffed at by Donald Trump. And it took a very hefty fee to bring her back. There is much documentation on that. You can check out the New York Times. It is in there. It is in their annals, and you can pull it out of there and read it for yourself because she has a fat deal. Let me tell you something. Baron Melania is never going to be broke. Not never. Baron Melania is going to be richer than Eric Trump. I promise you this because Trumpito needs to keep his shit quiet right now. And also, all those people we mentioned yesterday are busy getting arrested and indicted and quitting, so they can't be at the conventions. So they're busy. They're busy getting ready with their lawyers. They're busy with their lawyers. Oh, well, let's address a thing real quick. I have a head wrap on my head. I have. This is a gift from friend of the show, Dahlia. Appreciated very, very much. And there's a little matchy mask situation. I thought perhaps this was meant to be some sort of a neckerchief stance. It is not. It was actually the eyes of Minoviek's Tracy, producer here, who was able to say, oh, no, that's a head wrap. And as soon as those words were said, I said, I know what to Badu. I am a longtime wearer of the crown. There was a time in my life when a spiritualist suggested to me that was maybe a problem. And I was a very young spiritualist and not yet a priest. What? Not yet a priest myself. And so was not prepared to say, what the fuck are you talking about? And instead took it to heart. And so I unwrapped and didn't for many years. And then I began to not do my nails, which you did not get to see. You may have missed it because I had to stop doing it once we got into the pandemic. But my nails were lovely. So that started happening again on its own. And once I got a piece of fabric with which to do it, rewrapping my head to bring me back to my place of comfort and my happy place is happening again. So thank you for noticing, Trinice. Thank you for helping me, my love, and recognize what I had in my hands. And thank you, Dahlia, my partner in comedic crime, for giving me the tool with which to do so. So that is what I am doing. Anyway, she broke that law. That was another law, and I don't even remember the fourth one now. Honestly, I don't. I'm out of being able to keep it in my head. But she was on the Rose Garden. They used little soldiers. They did a naturalization thing. It's weird that Trump was even there. He shouldn't have been there at all. All of this was just bananas. It was just bananas. And I thought to myself last night, well, okay, I know what I'm going to talk about. Easy peasy. And this will be fun. And I'm going to razz them. And maybe I'm even going to have the time and the energy to get together a little couple slides the way I do. You know what I do? You know what I do like what I did yesterday. You remember? You don't remember? You can go back and look at the one from yesterday. You'll remember then. Many of the episodes have a production situation. This is not one. And in fact, the paper, if you do keep hearing it, what's happening here? This is notes from a whole different thing. I don't know what is this. Says equity lens and bullshit. This is my day job. It's only here to mute the cup. This is just brain thoughts. That's all that's happening right now. So, um, I thought I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into 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 all the rules that were broken with everybody, including our new friend Tracy Dillard. Hi, Tracy. And we're gonna talk about this corrupt ass administration, the corrupt president, and maybe we'll tie it to the protests. I don't know. Then late last night, a white boy decided to express the full veracity of his whiteness all over the world. Now, I've talked about this many times that it is an unsurprising expression for me because the full range of expression of whiteness is a limited one, and it is one that is a three-parter. Goes like this: buy it, kill it, fuck it. And so if I can buy this thing, whatever, maybe I can then fuck it. That can be any human in any gender or form that exists. Certainly, if they have access to one, male presenting people and men will just try to fuck it. If they can't fuck it, they'll rape it. That's how they do. Or if they can't do that, then they're going to yell at it. They're going to yell mean things at it. And after a while, if those mean things don't have the effect of teasing it into being able to fuck it, then it's very likely they're going to kill it. But if they can't do either one of those, they're also going to try to buy it first. They might try to buy it first, like, hey, but I have all the fancy, I have all the jewels. Look, ooh, I'll buy you money, ma. I'll buy you dinner, ma. All the bullshit that they do. And they'll pump their muscles big and make themselves, with their glory muscles, serving what they think you want, because of He-Man and Magnum PI and such. And really, they're more about being about the A-team. And last night, Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse. Expressed his whiteness by choosing to go directly to a preemptive move of kill it. And he decided to not go to kill it once, but twice, and shot two protesters in Kenosha last night. And then the police shot him in the leg and apprehended him, and he is in critical condition in the hospital now. And of course, that's not what the fuck happened at all. He then ran away into the night while the police stood by and watched. And he shouted at his friends, I hurt someone, and then disappeared. Whew. Now, this morning, I had to do a felicitation around the thing that people want me to felicitate and talk about a lot now, which is their internalized anti-blackness and how that shows up. And I'm not doing a lot of it because what I am talking about with people is the system of white affirmative action from which they benefit, and whether or not that has actually been the thing that has damaged their humanity, because perhaps it is not the place of black folks to have to define or make anybody else aware of ours. And so I was talking about that this morning, and in talking about it, it may have come up that this shooting happened, this murder happened, this murderer did what he did and ran away with the help of the police and his friends. And I may have, not in a place of hyperbole, but in a place of what I expected, said that this young person would never be caught. And if he were, would never, ever, ever be prosecuted. And, well, he's in jail. So I was wrong on one count. I do not necessarily have a firm conviction in my soul that he is going to be found guilty of anything in a court of law, because the laws in this country, as the systems in this country, as the electoral college in this country, is designed, as the police system in this country, designed and predicated on the enslavement of African bodies and the access to free labor that this country is built on. Now, by free labor, what we mean is barbarous torture to extract labor, such as being experienced by the farmers who are readily and steadily picking vegetables right now while California is burning. And they're in the fields hundreds of yards from the burning vegetables because they, of course, are essential workers. Slaves. And so also the free labor, of course, in prison, which we've lost much of, which is why we don't have firefighters. We've lost it to Corona. And that's why the fires are continuing to rage, which is why the other slaves in the fields are needing to pick faster because we didn't have the fire slaves to put out the fires. So get the vegetable slaves to get the vegetables so we can have our dinner. And so that's sort of the world we live in. And this young man, Kyle, I expected was going to go scot-free just from jump. Now, also, I'm assuming that in a town like this, many of those polices and juries of his peers are going to be made up of his cousins, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts. Maybe with an international spotlight, maybe it won't happen that way. But if the hay bag full of jizz, which is the reason that, in fact, this motherfucker felt so empowered and privileged to go out into the street and do what he did in the first goddamn place, then is back in office a second term, then I think it's a very strong likelihood that this person will be invited to speak at the Republican National Convention in 4 years. As Trumpito invited the gun-toting freak show murderers who showed their guns to the protesters and were invited to speak from their couchy couch. That was insane. That was wackadoosical. That was wackadoosical. So here's where it's at. I got nothing. I told them this morning, same thing I'm telling you. This is not on me. This is not on them. If you do not see, to the whites, if they do not see their power and privilege and the role within it as being one that mandates the necessity of their fighting for black life, which means fighting against nigger hunting season as their key imperative in life, then it is their humanity that will continue to be stripped of them every day that they capitulate to this wicked, vile system. And I'm happy to take their truckloads of money to say this to them as often as they'd like to pay me. And right now, in this historical moment, they are lining up to pay for such a service. What I truly am beginning to feel like is like I do dominatrix work and not educational workshops, because it is also a bit of S&M, not smoke and mirrors, the other kind, for black and brown folks, black folks in particular, brown women, femmes, and trans folks explicitly, to continue to participate in these processes and workshops while you are hunting us down. And we used to be able to talk about hunting down our babies, or hunting down the men's, or hunting down the women's, or hunting down the young ones, or hunting down who, it's just who the fuck ever. Y'all just hunting. And it's a completely a lateral fight. I've said before, I'll say again, it's hard to plan the next chess move when the person on the other side of the board is playing genocide. Be sure to join me tomorrow when my guest is going to be Genesia Francis. It's going to be happening at 420 in the PDT. I think it is going to be a goodie. I have to scroll down very many pictures because I didn't have a chance to delete all the cute shit that I did yesterday. There's scenes. Took like 25 scenes, so to go from that to the next thing you're going to see, I had to scroll, I had to look, I had to peek, I had to cheat. Plus, may have burned my throat a little bit with that last bong hit. This, see, I hit the wrong thing. Well, that's the white supremacist and the other white supremacist and the homophobe and the other homophobe having a conversation about how much money they have. Good for them. This has been another episode of Smoke and Mirrors. Thank you so much for spending some time. So much fun. Hey, there are patrons who make this possible. Yes, people actually pay money to make this thing possible. Do you know some of those people who do that? I'm gonna name them now. They're about to come through as soon as Tracy's name disappears. That would include Ruthie, Erica, Amber, Aaron, Seth, Lisa, Kristen, Renice, Michael, Natalie, Juliet, Tarika, Tracy. I did it in one breath. I was going to say, I wonder if I can do it in one breath, but I knew I would run out if I tried. If you would also like to become a supporter, you could do that. You could do that by the first thing you could do, it's absolutely free. You don't got to charge no money to anyone at all, not yourself, not nobody. Don't ask nobody for nothing. Share this experience on your Facebook page. It will be available within 24 hours on YouTube. You can share it from there as well. And if you'd like to support it regularly and become a patron, please feel free to do that. If you do that and are one of the first 20, guess what you get? A little Carlos Kareem Wyndham trading card, and you can hold it in your hand. That's what Kristen's doing in that picture. Hey, if you got an idea about a thing that you want to hear me say about things, oh God, oh man, my English is slipping. This is, I hope we get out of isolation soon. If you have a thing you'd like to hear us talk about here at Smoke and Mirrors, feel free to reach out at smokeandmirrorsccb@gmail.com. If you would like to see some of the past guests, go over to Instagram or go ahead and look right in the thread. That is the community thread for Smoke and Mirrors on Facebook. There you will see the pictures of the glorious geniuses who have been here in conversations past, and some of those who are coming up in conversations going forward. If you would like to read some of the words that come from a brain hole but don't want to hear my gross mouth, you can do that at Twitter at Caballo Negrito. And if you would like to share and maybe put 5 on it on the philosopher's tree, but do not want to make that deep, deep commitment, you can do that at Venmo at Carlos-Wyndham. You can do that at Cash App at $CK Wyndham. You can do that at PayPal /me. CK Wyndham. You could do it any of those places. It would be muchly and duly and deeply appreciated. I would appreciate it. And as ever, this is not a thing I'm ever going to bogart. I do this for free because it brings me life. And if it brings you some too, then we've already accomplished everything we meant to accomplish here. This is a very nearly daily, I'm going to say 4 days a week. Let's make it official. We're doing this 4 days a week, not 5. It's too much. It's just too much. I'm sorry. There's enough of a backlog now. You can go back and you can look at a past episode if you want to. There's other ways to hear my voice if that's what you need. But 4 days a week, I'll be doing these live streams. We'll continue to do these. I will never bogart. It brings me joy. It brings me life. I hope it brings you a little too. This is a thing that is produced and hosted by myself, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. This is produced by Tracy Tatamy. Would you do me a favor? Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Stay home. Wash your hands. And if for God's sake you're going to go out because you got to go out because you're an essential worker, because you're going to be out there protesting in the streets, or because you just won't fucking listen to the doctors, then for God's sake, wear a mask, because we'd love to see you here again, okay? Thank you very much for spending a little bit of time. Hope to see you here tomorrow beneath the philosopher's tree. I love you. Not you racists. Fuck you. Okay, everybody else, I love you. Bye.